give a presentation.
Handouts for you.
Sure. Missing Lynn today. He's got some plumbing issues, so.
Water in the basement, I'm sure he'd be more rather than dealing with what he's doing.
Worse than that squishiness.
Then you gotta smell it after.
And like, leave it for him, so he has that anyways.
Tony.
Yeah.
Presentations just in there.
Thank you.
Yeah. I brought a couple other extras if you ladies.
We can share one.
Sure. You have one for each of you.
Okay.
Tony.
You are prepared. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you very much,
You're
ma'am.
welcome. Okay, I first just want to thank you for having us here today. We met with your team over the last couple of months and provided them with references to check on. And then after that, we were invited to present to you today. So thank you for this opportunity. I'll start off by introducing myself for those of you in the room who do not know me. I feel like I know everybody, but my name is Andrea Taylor, and I am an employee benefits consultant with Gallagher. My husband and I live here in Abilene, and we have 3 boys. And I've also brought Mike.
Mike Minton, I'm area vice president with Gallagher. And have real quick, first of all, I want to reiterate, thank you for the opportunity also to meet prior to, from a standpoint of, I've been with Gallagher now for about 6 years. I've been in the employee benefits space, risk management for the last little over 21 years. And we appreciate the opportunity to be here to kind of share what we do, how we differentiate ourselves, possibly know that you're currently in the last couple of years been working with a consulting firm. And ultimately what we're coming to ask is for the opportunity to work with you all as well. And I think as we go through this, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate. I'm gonna kind of be off the side, just help out just a little bit, jump in a few times, and if I have anything to add, and go from there. So, do I need to be standing here, or is it all right?
I can stand.
I didn't want to be.
No, you got
I didn't want to be right over her shoulder.
it.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah, thanks for coming in.
Just a little bit about Gallagher. We specialize in insurance risk management and consulting needs. We've been around for almost 100 years. I wish that I could say 100 years exactly, but almost 100 years. We are globally known and pride ourselves in being locally recognized. In the state of Kansas, we have offices in Wichita, Kansas City, Manhattan, and then as Mike said, he's in Great Bend, and then of course me in Abilene. Moving through the packet, a little bit more about Gallagher. On this next page is 25 shared values that we have at Gallagher that are really our foundation. They are the company, what we believe in as a company and as our culture. 25 of them are amazing. I picked out my 3 favorites. So in your spare time, review the 25 if you'd like. My favorite is starting with number 3, we push for professional excellence. This really makes us strive to achieve the highest standards by constantly improving our skills and knowledge. We're continuously growing, we are continuously learning from the very best in the industry. We're committed to excellence by providing quality service, being proactive, and having a strong work ethic. Those are all things that we believe in. This value also pushes me to take pride in my work by not only aiming to meet expectations, but exceeding expectations by delivering exceptional results. Another one that I truly love is number 20. We run to problems, not away from problems. This one really to me is about resiliency. It's about staying in the fight even when times are tough. It's about being resourceful and committed to excellence at all times. This one is about also being proactive as opposed to reactive, coming to the table with a solution mindset. The last one that really is more than a standard, it's an expectation, almost a non-negotiable. It's really a demand from our leadership team, And that is that we adhere to the highest standards of moral and ethical behavior. It's an expectation that we always operate with integrity, honesty, and fairness with all that we encounter. We are transparent while still respecting confidentiality. There's some other good ones in there. I could go on and on. Mike at one point said, you got to stop talking about all of them. You just have to pick your favorites. I was like, well, they're all my favorites. So moving on, there's more than just us two that are committed to this team that you would have exposure and access to. This is the core team here at Gallagher that would be committed to Dickinson County. Mike and I represent the consulting side, and then also you'll see Krista, she's the senior client manager, as well as Preston. I also want you to take a look at the right-hand side of the page, because there is where we offer subject matter experts in each of those, I guess, pillars, and not in just those areas, but whether it be pharmacy or the HR, technology, or compliance. What we do very, very well is, as a problem or need arises, we bring experts to the table to help us tackle whatever's in front of us. So this team is a team of experts that will lean into other people if we need, if the problem arises. What I also love about introducing this team is everybody knows the term shop local and how important that is, but with me being local, this really is more than just shopping local. It is about me being so intertwined in the community that I'm walking along side by side of many of your employees. I get to hear firsthand what they love and what they may not love about what you're offering. So I really do, this really exacerbates the point that I'm better than just a phone call away. I timed myself to get here today, and with no trains and not even the first street stoplight, it took under 2 minutes to get to the building. So I really am just more than a phone call away. I'm right here in your community. Moving on to the kind of nuts and bolts and the meat of this presentation is the business side of this, outside of just our team that would be working with you. And that is that we believe data drives decisions, and not just any data. We want you to work specifically with your data and your workforce data. An accountable and actionable employee benefit strategy starts with a comprehensive analysis of your workforce and benefits data. This is where you assess and develop a strategic plan. So we believe that all organizations should have a strategic plan in many aspects of your business, but particularly for benefits as well. It shouldn't just be, what are we going to do this next year? Did our rates decrease this next year? That means we're successful. It really should be a long-term plan, something that you're looking at every year. It's live, forever changing, something that takes you through year 3, 5, and 10.
Morning.
Good morning. Did you get your water out of your basement?
We're working on it. So I've got about 5 people there working. So,
Here with Gallagher, I provided you handouts
okay.
and the right in front of you. We're on page 4.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry I'm late,
No
but
problem.
that was kind of the way it was today.
It's not even Monday.
Okay.
Yep, right there. Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So we believe that your benefits should be a strategic plan looking at not only one year to year, but 3, 5, and 10 years down the road. Looking at this model below, we're just going to start at the left and just kind of talk through it. You can read all the different bullet points in there. But the first part of your assessing time before you get to the development phase is align strategic priorities. During this phase, you will align your priorities by understanding your objectives based on where you're at right now. What are your objectives for benefits? Kind of moving through that in assessment phase, you'll get to know your workforce. You'll get to know your workforce by implementing surveys and comparing that to data that we have. You'll have access to our People Insight Report, which is a comprehensive analysis provided by Gallagher that focuses on understanding and improving organizational well-being. By leveraging these insights, you can make informed decisions based on your workforce as it applies to benefits. Based on the data you receive and understanding your objectives, it will help you identify any gaps that may exist in your current offerings to help you really go into that development stage of creating your playbook and optimizing the data at hand. We'll look at benchmarking together. So we'll take your data and benchmark it against your local, regional, state, and we even have national data if that interests you. So we'll compare all of the data and find out how that works out and compares to your objectives and goals for your organization. In the strategizing pillar there, you'll see our data warehouse. That is where the carriers dump information into, so you will have access to that information. Blue Cross Blue Shield, your current medical provider, does dump data in that warehouse, so your information will be fed in that. And then once you have all of this data and you're developing plans, at that evaluation state, at this point, you'll have a playbook developed through getting to know your workforce, both inside and out, understanding your objectives, knowing your goals, both short-term and long-term, and you'll develop and will be able to implement whatever plan you see best fits the needs of your workforce. Through this whole time, of course, we'll be spitting out and measuring where we're at, where we're going, how it's running, and giving you data and reports for you to review as well.
Andrew, can I add one thing
Yes,
on
please
that?
do.
So from a Gallagher perspective, and really one of the reasons I joined Gallagher 6 years ago, when I moved from another side of insurance, but is that, you know, the key thing for a lot of employers, and it seems like a lot of times you have a strategic plan for a lot of different things, right? Employee benefits is one of them that gets, it's a year-to-year thing. And of course, we can't control claims on the medical side and everything. But one of the things that I think that differentiates us is building that strategic plan that Andrea was just talking about. And it's like, okay, where do you want to be from a employee benefit standpoint in 1 year, 3 years, 5 years? I think that, from the data analytics side of things, having somebody who is truly going to be digging in and looking at things and what's going to benefit your employees is very, very important. And for example, I'll just give you a couple of examples real quick. If you have, we're evaluating your claims, you see that there are a lot of mental health claims. And then, so what do we do about that? How do you, what solutions are there? How do you implement things to help your employees? If you have a high number of diabetics on the plan, what programs are available to, and again, how to get them implemented and get buy-in from your employees to help address if that's one of your key things. So the analytics side of things and understanding your people and where they're at is really, really important to helping to build that plan over the years and getting to where, because obviously cost is always the big thing. And how do we help our employees with their ongoing, especially on the medical side of things, on their the diagnoses that they have and the challenges that they're having right now.
As you flip to the next page, we talked a lot about data and how that's really important to build your strategic plan. But let's talk about the core blocking and tackling that we do on a daily basis. You look to the right of your page. From a consulting practice, this is what we really do. All of those different pieces that you can see are really just cogs in the wheel. And as you read all of them, I'll just kind of go around the wheel. But number one, first and foremost, we are an extension of your already professional team. We are ongoing client support. We will be the lead in any project management that you have. We'll provide all the financial information that you would ever want to see to help measure and make future decisions. We will handhold any vendor or carrier integrations that you may have. We will assist with communication and enrollment support. Just talked with the team a little bit about current open enrollment meetings and those being here. We talked about also about going out to and meeting with employees that it may not be conducive for them to get here during the set open enrollment times. Really, the goal is to educate your employees so they know what they are enrolling for or what they are potentially waiving as a benefit. So doing more than just kind of sitting at a table and waiting for people to come to you and sign up, getting out, educating. And that really is an ongoing thing. That's just not once a year at open enrollment. We proactively manage your renewal process. So we keep an eye on your claims and your data, meet with you multiple times a year, as much or as little as you want. But we really want you to be educated based on what's going on in your plan. So if there's a high claimant, you know about it. You know what to budget for. By the time you get a renewal, it's almost like an evaluation. You shouldn't be surprised. You know what's coming. So we really help you execute a holistic approach to your organizational well-being. If you're still wondering, why Gallagher? Why us? Why am I different? How are we different from what you're currently experiencing or anybody else that may have come and knocked on your door? We've talked about our client-first focus and our client-first approach, our passion for excellence, not only meeting expectations, but consistently exceeding expectations and delivering exceptional results. My big one is the local presence. I truly am local. I've seen all of you in the community, all seeing me, I'm sure. I have a book of business that has a lot of Dickinson County books in it, and it continues to grow. As stated earlier, I'm better than just a phone call away. I'm right in your backyard. Our team is also innovative. Based on your data, we'll help you find the right solutions for your workforce. The Gallagher strategic approach, we work as a team, as a collaborative team. We have subject matter experts and vertical and industry experts in all facets. If something comes up, there's always somebody that is a phone call, an email, drive down the road away to come and help us. So that's exciting. Because of our strong and vendor carrier relationships, our market leverage is unmatched. We have strong relationships with Blue Cross Blue Shield. In fact, Charles, who's your representative, him and I talked on our personal cell phones last week about another group, but we are all intertwined and have great working relationships. So that is great. That's specifically important, those relationships and our large footprint in the market when it comes to negotiation strategies for renewals and different implementations of different lines of coverage that you may want. And then, of course, our data analytics. As you know, data drives decisions. That's what we're big on. And Blue Cross Blue Shield would be dumping their data into our warehouse to help with decision processes, not only right now, but moving forward. Anybody have any questions so far?
No, I see you got quite a bit of pages to go through. We got about another 12 minutes.
Okay.
I don't know if you want to refine it a little bit, get down to the gritty.
Yeah, I will. I'll just
I
tell
don't want to rush you.
No, you're fine.
Try.
Good
We
material.
can talk all day about benefits.
No, I know. You give us a great outline of why Gallagher is a great outfit.
Okay.
I love it, but
Yep,
just for
we'll get
sake
to
of
it.
time, yeah.
This next piece, I just still want to touch on it just because
Yeah,
it's
go
an added, what?
Go ahead.
Okay, an added layer of support. It's not just our team. This Benefit Advocate Center, your employees and their dependents, new hires, everyone would have access to it. If they have any questions or just need an ID card, you have a kid going off to college or you lost one and need a new one, this is just an extra added layer of support. That way nobody ever has to wait to have a question answered, and we're going to make sure of it. Mike is going to touch real quick on compliance.
Yeah, I'll just jump in real quick on the next page on the compliance. And this is really important side of things. We have a stable of benefit attorneys that are actually employees of Gallagher. And they're very versed with municipalities as well. But we have them, they're in part of a lot of our meetings. They're on standby constantly to help with any situations that come up. One of the key things that we would do with them, and we typically do within the first year of having a partnership with a new group, is that we would do a compliance review, meaning that we would go through the list of things that you're supposed to be doing, what documents you're supposed to have, those kind of things. I will tell you the one time that we do that, to begin with, it's about an hour and a half, 2-hour meeting with your staff, just going through saying, what are you doing for this? What do you have for this? Making sure that you're saying that you have everything that you need from a benefit side. But the other thing, and I'll move on here, is that obviously there's, over the last several years especially, we've got a lot of legislation that comes through from the federal side and they're the ones that bring that to us. They tell us how we need to help you to implement those things and get everything done. The last thing is that we have a help desk that we can even make available to your staff, that if they run across something, they can do some outreach to those folks. So typically we ask just come to us and we'll figure it out. But it's also available from a compliance side. But that's I think also a big differentiator for us on that side. The next page that you have there is just a sample compliance annual service calendar that we put together. We have several calendars that we put together for the staff just to keep on task with things that are going to be due and guidelines and special timeframes that you have to meet. So that's what that. So.
But Mike or Andrew, real quick, you guys do the federal compliance reporting.
Yes.
Report inside of it, correct?
Yep.
Okay. Just make sure to clarify that.
We have that on another page.
Okay, gotcha.
Yes, because nobody likes that.
Talking about like
reporting.
1095.
No, yes, I'm sorry, the 1095, yes,
ACA.
that one, yes. Okay, good.
Our commonly asked question.
Yes.
Nobody likes it. Nobody likes it.
No. Huh.
On the next page, all I have to do is click it, right?
Yes.
Yes.
You.
That's it. Yes. The next page is just really showing our commitment to transparency. You will know every single dollar that you spend for our services to consult you. We provide it at least on an annual basis, and that's what the document looks like. It's also laid out in a consulting agreement, which I did bring a sample copy of, provided your team with a copy, so they had a copy previous to this meeting. What
So
you want.
the fee is paid as its own. You guys charge the fee, okay. So it's not included in the plan. Okay.
Suggesting, so you can pay it a number of
Yep.
ways. Like right now, you're currently paying it wrapped up in medical premiums, and we're suggesting maybe another option as
Okay.
we move forward. But there are a couple different ways that you can pay. You're doing one of them right now.
Sure.
An overview of your current model based on meetings with your staff is your current annual spend for consultant is 5% of your medical premiums. The team reported your most recent bill paid for medical premiums was $123,000 with 106 members enrolled. Annualized, that's just over $1.4 million. 5% of that annualized amount is $73,906 with 106 employees enrolled. That consultant fee that you were paying is $58.10 per employee per month. You are getting a quote unquote free benefit administration platform, but you don't own it. You just have access to it through your current consultant. And things to note about your plan over the past years, when your premiums may have gone up, or if they go up, your consultant just got an unauthorized raise because of how you are paying your consultant fee right now. They always earn 5% of your medical premium. Also, the savings that you've had in the last 2 years have come from just getting off the state plan and moving from plan to plan. You received immediate savings by getting off the state plan. And then your employees didn't like UHC, so you went back to Blue Cross Blue Shield. They wanted your business back. So you saved money there as well. You're currently on shelf plans. What that means is your claims are your claims. There's no magic. There's no maneuvering different pieces of your plan. It is what it is. It's very laid out. What Gallagher is proposing, and you'll see on the last informational page, is that you sign a broker of record letter for Gallagher right now to take over your plan as is and begin working on your renewal for the 1/1 benefit plan year. Effective 1/1 and into that plan year, I suggest that you take the consulting fee out of the premiums like you have it now and pay for it so that you know exactly what you're paying. Charge a flat fee for consulting services, saving your current spend almost $31,000. Also, I like this because you know exactly what you're paying for, how much it runs your employee per month, Currently, you're paying $58, just over that per employee per month, versus this proposal of $33.80 per employee per month, a difference of over $24 per employee per month. I also suggest that you own your benefit admin system. It would be the same one you use now, Employee Navigator. You're getting that through your consultant, but you can buy this. And through Gallagher, we have premier pricing for you. That would be accessible your first year. It would run you about $8,500 to own it. And then after that, it would be about $6,000. And that would include all of the fees and administration on the technology side, your ACA reporting and filing and mailing that Marcia and Janelle and everybody swarm over. So that would be included as well. For a total savings, right now, if nothing changed, if premiums went up, this amount would be more. But this is just if everything stayed the same. Your savings for 2026 is roughly $22,400.
One of the key things with the good admin side of things is that you would not have to do the building of it or anything. We would still control all of that and everything where you're still working in it exactly like they are now with no additional work on that Employee Navigator.
And why it's a little bit more the first year, because there's some fees built in there for setup and implementation. It would offer real savings and a true local presence. In the last
Are you in
couple
about
days.
every state? Are you in about every state?
Yeah, you missed the part that we are globally recognized.
That's what I say, because
Really?
the stock exchange, your stock is just done very well, so.
We pride ourselves on our local presence, so.
Yes.
Yes, we do.
I just wanted to add, I know we're running out of, yeah, if you want, I don't give stock advice because I'm not on that side, but it has been a very good stock the last couple of years. So
50% growth.
it's good for my retirement. But I just want to, I know we're out of time here before maybe a minute for questions, but I think there's 3 key takeaways here that I think is really important as you look forward. And if timing's not right, timing's not right. But when it boils down to it, I think that there's some financial savings that the county can have by making a switch. I think that we've got the bench, the resources, the programs, the tools to help you build that strategic plan going forward. And can't speak more. I mean, I know that there's some local folks that our team works with right now that local, I mean, people always say, hey, we're local, but there isn't any more local than what we've got right now with Andrea. I'm on the road every day and out and about and around and participate in everything. But those are really, I would think, are probably the 3 key things. And the bottom line is we really love the opportunity to work with you and your employees and your staff on moving forward. And you guys have done a nice job the last couple of years getting to where you are right now. But now is where do you go from here? And so. But we do appreciate time. Is there any questions?
It's probably a personal question. Why do you want to be our broker?
Because I have a vested interest in the community and in your employees, and I want what's very best for them and for the organization as a whole, for the community, for the county. I've been paying attention and looking at and hearing the ways for budget cuts. When I left the meeting, to be honest, with Janelle and Marcus and Marcia, and they told me about the spend, I said 5%. Seems okay, maybe a little more than what we would love for a municipality or school district or something like that. But Then when I found out what your enrollment was and what your premiums were and found out that you were paying almost $60 per employee per month when we love to be around like that 30 to 35 range, I couldn't help but come knocking again and tell them like, you can't ignore this opportunity. We wouldn't change anything, even if you said, don't change a thing. We want to keep everything as is. We don't want to change anything. Great, we'll even let you keep your bin admin system. I have a vested interest in the community. I care about your employees and I care about you all as a whole. So I think it only makes sense to have somebody that really does care be in here. And I'm not saying everybody cares, but I want to know that the people I'm looking at in the grocery store, I can feel proud that I've helped implement things that really is beneficial.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Commissioners, you have any questions?
Very good, thank you.
All right.
Very well
Thank
put
you.
together presentation. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
your time.
Have a good day.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Have a great rest of the week.
Ready?
How about?
You ready?
Yeah.
Come on up.
We'll see.
You'll use that fine.
Yeah.
Told Ron to be hard on you.
Yeah, okay.
Let's go for you.
Well, my name's Tony Geiger, and I'm presently the chairman of the board of directors for the Dixie County Economic Development Corporation. Here to present the DKADC's formal request for funding for the coming fiscal year from,
Real quick, didn't you have the balance sheet with you?
yeah, can we get that now or?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, we can make copies if you need
I
it.
got copies.
Okay, yeah, could you hand that out real quick?
Yeah. I got one, I got 5 of them.
Perfect.
And it's got a little attachment at the end.
Thank you, sir.
Yep,
Good something to look at.
yep. Thank you. You bet, Ron.
So anyway, a little introductory remarks here. First of all, please know on behalf of our board of directors, we are proud to serve as the economic development entity for Dixie County, and we do not take that responsibility lightly. Thank you for your trust in our organization. We've experienced some setbacks recently. We're on the way to realigning, hopefully with a new executive director to be secured soon with renewed energy and implementation of our strategic plan for economic development for our county. We've engaged an interim executive director. I don't know if any of you have run into, it's Jim Fram. He's doing a great job for us. And a national search is underway for a new executive director that hopefully will produce some results soon. Our interim director is meeting with investors to assure the continuation of the mission of DKDC, maintaining the operations until a new director is on the job. Our office is open Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. until 4 p.m. That hasn't always been the case. Last year, not going to dwell on that, but it is open. So drop in. We're taking calls and emails, and they are being responded to. And I'm proud to report we're financially strong, and I'll go over that a little bit with you here in a little bit. Our board is meeting on a regular basis, and we're making adjustments to our operations as needed from time to time. And I guess this bottom line here, we're respectfully requesting from Dickinson County an annual investment of $125,000, which is a reduction from our previous request, $145,000.
I believe so.
So we're lowering down our request there. Thank you for your trust and be happy to. Okay, so let's go into the handout I gave you. Spend a whole lot of time on this, but the first part of it there is basically our balance sheet. Majority of our assets are made up of CDs in just about every bank in the county that wanted to have our investment. We do also have some funds on hand at Community Foundation. We have total assets of just over $782,000 and very limited liabilities, some credit cards, some taxes that are due. So our equity, our net worth is just almost $774,000. So we are financially strong, but we have expenses and we're going to have expenses, but right now we are in good shape. This next 3 sheets are our statement of activity, and we've got a year to date from January to June, the end of June of 2025, and then for the month of June. Again, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on specifics here. largest expense obviously would be our personnel. But at the bottom line here, for the month of June, and it's been a little slow with our change in directors and so forth, and a little bit of lack of communication with investors in the recent history. Been a little slow of our investors paying their investment pledge, and we understand that completely. Communication with them has been lacking a little bit. But so we did have actually a loss for the month of June of a little over 12,000. But from January to June of 25, we are in the black, a little almost $34,000. So any questions on the finance? It's pretty straightforward, but I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Is Jim the only employee now, or?
Okay, and we'll get into that. We do have our lady Diane's last name.
Diane Wilson.
Wilson. She is manning the desk up there, and she will be leaving here when she goes back to school, but we're going to replace her. Jim is employee, and then we have Troy Leith has been a paid employee here for the last year or so. We are negotiating with him to be a contract employee, work on our workforce part of it. So that's changing a little bit, but Troy will continue to be a part of that. And then very likely we're going to try to search for a BRE, business retention and expansion person too. So we kind of see this going forward as probably 3 full-time employees, and then Troy is a contract employee, depending on how.
And Grant is helping us, and
Grant is helping, he's filling in.
but he's a college student.
Yes.
Very.
When he's not working at the golf course, he's helping us just go through stuff, making calls, setting up appointments for Jim. Grant was an intern, probably 2 summers ago, and his passion is economic development. We'd be a bit surprised that you never know that he might be one of those that'll come back to our county someday. But right now, yeah, he's helping making calls and setting up appointments for Jim. So anyway, that's the finance part of this thing, and briefly. But so the last part here, we've developed some pillars for going forward that we feel is important. Pillar 1 is business retention and expansion, and under that, we have an operational goal: retain and expand current businesses present in Dickinson County. Positions that would be directly with that would be an assistant director or a BRE consultant, as I mentioned. Activities in this effort would be grant writing and submitting of the grant requests, one-on-one meeting with all our investors at least once a year for a yearly survey. And Jim has completed a survey with our investors, and we got probably 25% response from that. And it indicated what we thought it would, that, we've been lacking on contact with our investors and so forth. No surprise, but we need to do, and we plan on doing that going forward regularly. That's very important. And also under that, wants and needs of our companies, do a pulse check with them when we're meeting with them, and we'll do company surveys on their employment. Pillar 2, workforce. Operational goal: meets the demand for workforce for our investors and develop reasonable solutions for issues that arise. Positions: Troy Leith, he will be, like I said, going forward, a contract workforce consultant. And Troy's got a lot going on with his other business, but his passion is workforce too, and engaging. So activities here would be the Kansas Works Apprenticeship Program, develop a possible partnership with local community college. You might shake your head and wonder about that, but hey, why not? This is what some of our dreams are here, to possibly bring a community college to our community.
Is Perry Wiggins still on the workforce executive board? So Kansas Works.
Boy, Troy would know that. Yeah.
I don't recall, to be honest with you.
Okay.
I don't know, Deb maybe will answer that.
It was a few years ago.
Mhm.
His name rings a little bit of a bell, not a bell, no.
He's a retired commanding general from Fort Riley,
Okay.
and lives in Chapman.
Okay.
And he was on the Kansas State Workforce Board,
I'm
but
sure
also on the
Troy.
executive committee.
Okay.
He has been involved. I remember Troy talking about it.
Okay, yeah,
Met
yeah,
him a few times. Yeah.
Okay, pillar 3, government affairs. Operational goal, act as Dixon counties and all the cities and townships they're in as their economic development department. Will administer, develop, and lobby economic policies for cities and counties that adhere to legal requirements. And the position that would affect that is our director. Activities and effort, attend local government meetings when necessary, provide quarterly reviews for their board members. Number 2, work with Commerce Department and the
North Central Regional.
North Central Kansas Regional Planning to find new grants, economic incentive programs that could help business interests in Dixon County. Pillar 4, housing, community housing. Our goal, provide adequate, sufficient housing for the workforce of our investors, help drive development of new housing projects throughout the county when requested. And again, the director would be responsible for that. Activities, work with the county, cities, Commerce Department, and North Central Regional Planning Commission to find appropriate economic policies and grants to help recoup the cost for expensive housing projects. Second bullet point, organize and help planning for housing projects. 3, conduct work/home studies. 4, conduct Kansas housing assessment every 4 years to stay compliant and up to date. Pillar 5, investor communications and events. Goal, well, one goal, I guess we don't have a lot there, would be
That was-
to have.
So just to explain it, that was one that we didn't actually have as a goal in our normal bylaws. So we felt that it was necessary to add that and make that an actual measurable goal for the position.
We had an annual meeting maybe 2 years ago. We didn't last year.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. Annual meetings, getting with investors, that's just as important as the rest of it.
It's over there. So finally, pillar 6 pillar here is day-to-day operations. Ensure invoices are being processed, expenses are being recorded in compliance with standard accounting practices. Ensure all bills are paid on time. This goes without saying. Ensure payroll and everything is getting done. Position will be in charge of that. It's organizational. We probably have our office manager, but the director would be ultimately responsible for the accounting, balance sheet, reporting, bill paying, et cetera, and would delegate that work to the assistant. So that's a quick. We also have, I didn't run copies of this, a very detailed strategic plan and program of work that has probably too many bullet points in it. But I didn't make copies of that for you, but the bottom line is where our goal is to be more visible, do what we're supposed to do to develop the economy of Dixon County. And we're confident that with our new director, we're going to get that done. So any questions?
The timeline on the new director is that?
I would hope that would happen within the next month.
We'll
You'd have to have interviews. And-
Yeah.
Yes.
Next Monday is when the town, sorry, I'm searching for you, Tony. Why don't you-
No, that's okay. That's okay. So we'll have another search committee meeting next Monday. We're hoping that after that, we'll set up some interviews. We'll have a new director in place hopefully within the next month. Frankly, I'm tired of having too many meetings. I want to get somebody hired and get them in there and
We've been on a weekly meeting basis,
if not,
for the last 2 months, trying to deal with this problem that we have. And I'll just speak, I'm speaking for the organization I sit on as a board member. For the public that doesn't know, we put a lot of time and effort into reorganizing this thing and getting it back to what it should have always, kind of what it started out being and what it should have continued to be. And in my opinion, it's a hiccup, and we're going to get over it, and we're going to get back to business.
And I'll just say, we appreciate whatever folks decide to support us financially with, and we will do our best to use that money wisely and make you proud and make you know that we're getting some job done. And there's things happening, but we think there's an opportunity to have a lot more things happen. I want law enforcement standing. And thank you guys for your service.
Thank you.
And kind of a background, or maybe Janelle, because you were on the board one time, but you might kind of summarize how the county got involved, but we weren't trying to be the ones, wasn't going to be a department of the county, so.
Right, felt the need that this was obviously very important because we saw neighboring counties kind of having good results and we were lagging behind, but agreed, we didn't want to have this as a county department. We felt it would be more effective as a 501c3, and that's why the county commission decided to help start up the organization. And we had representatives on the board and wanted a representative from each of the communities to make sure they all had a voice in that, because what goes on in Harrington does affect what goes on in Chapman and Solomon and that was very important. So in representation from all of that. So, and I think, we started off really well, and finding the right person to fit in there is key. It really is.
And I think the way I recall, we started out 175,000 or so is a larger amount. But then the other thing is, as you know, you did your own fundraising to get investors and get businesses and people in the county involved. And so we give a significant amount and hope for benefits for the whole county, but you're also, like you say, the investors are people that have, when they're investors, they're giving money. That means they're giving money for this organization.
Yeah, and they need to know that money's being
on an annual basis.
Yeah. So that was a 5-year pledge program. 2026 will be the last year of that. So we'll be needing to have another capital campaign in a year or so here. So that's another reason it's important to show people we're doing our job.
Absolutely.
Hey, thank you so much for your attention. And
Ron, did you have any questions?
No, I just want to thank Tony for his leadership and the oversight of the economic development organization. But also, it's part of a community. It has to be like all the other services that the county is involved with. That's just a part of it. And without economic development, people looking into what we can do to do better and stuff, and that's a tough situation. None of us will go anywhere. So there's got to be a driving force there somewhere, and it's got to be an economic. But again, I want to thank you.
Well, Tony, thank you for what you do, because when you show up to say you're here to represent a board, I'm thinking there's half a dozen boards you're on, I believe. So you really are like full-time, even though you're retired, you're full-time for what you do. So I know there's
be able to do it and be able to still walk and talk and
there's other people like you, but I mean I don't think volunteer effort makes a huge difference in every community and county. So
I don't think you said it, but just for the public and everybody, Tony is actually the chair of the board currently. So I don't know if you said that.
Congratulations.
I'm not running for the hospital board again, so there'll be one less there, but there's always plenty to do. So anyway.
Thank the ADC for understanding that we need to make some budgetary cuts this year. And it seems like you guys are in line with that. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, you bet. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Yeah, Pete.
Fun stuff. You should all have a copy.
And you guys, I printed just a little bit larger copy since it gets a little smaller now. So you guys can, it's got some of it, years of history, just what we've set aside in the past. Got on there for you too. That's this. So just to kind of touch on the CIP, we've gone over all the department budgets. We've had the CIP in your binders for a couple of weeks now. Throughout this process, I always meet with all of the departments early, and we start to go through what their larger equipment purchases are going to be for the year. So this plan kind of helps us to make sure that we're setting aside funding moving forward. A lot of this, you'll find the first 3 pages are all going to be funded through what we call the equipment reserve. So when we do consider things as capital, when you hear that in the meeting, a lot of times that's actually technically the equipment reserve fund, but a lot of times that is considered capital because it's in our CIP, and that's how we plan for that. Most of the equipment reserve is funded through transfers from the general fund. Sometimes we get, if we sell items on Purple Wave, we will just put that back into the fund that it came from. So if we have highway department equipment that's sold, that will go back into special machinery because that's actually a specific equipment reserve fund for the highway. And if we sell, say, a sheriff's patrol vehicle, that'll go into the equipment reserve fund. So they do kind of go into different pots, but it depends on what they came out of. So we always make sure that that is funded back to the original funding source. So right now, looking at 2026, if you flip, we'll just kind of start on page 1. You kind of look at that 2026 column, and you see not all of these mean that we're going to exactly spend 100% of this dollar. It's more of a planning tool that we utilize to just make sure that we're setting aside and we have enough funds in place in case these needs come up. So the computer workstations, we've been working on that for a number of years. We kind of pencil in a little bit, and then those items still come to you. If there's going to be a large purchase from the IT department, you see Dustin come in here throughout the year, and then we'll kind of discuss that this is where we've set aside to plan for some of that funding. But that doesn't mean we're going to spend exactly $40,000 on workstations. But in today's day and age, with as much computer and equipment that goes into it, there could be years where that may be the case. You also saw this year that we had the IT infrastructure that came through with host servers. That was just discussed this in the last couple of meetings where Dustin was able to find some savings. So we factor that into it as well, and we'll update that moving forward into years to come. If you flip to page 2, that's where we're going to get into your EMS, all of the ambulances. There's some EKG machines that we have to consider purchase coming up as well that are going to need replacement. They were last purchased in 2015. John has penciled in $200,000 for EKG machines. It's about $40,000 per machine. There's 5 of those. In the past, we had used a lease purchase model when we purchased those. If we have the funding in place and we have the equipment reserve healthy, then it is helpful to save on interest costs if we can purchase those outright and then plan for that over time with those transfers each year. So that is something that, although we used a lease purchase in 2015, I would hope that when those machines come up, and they may not come up in 2026, we've had to set aside the last couple of years, and they kind of, if we can get another year out of them, we will do that. So we don't just because they're on this list doesn't mean I'm going to go out and just buy them. If we start to see failure in those machines, then yes, we will bring that to you and discuss the plan for replacement. We do also have, you'll see $265,000 for an ambulance. What we have done the last couple of times, it takes anywhere from 12 to 18 months right now, possibly by the time you order a machine. So we may be, depending on how this budget works out, that it is possible that even this year, John could be coming in front of you to request putting in for the purchase of an ambulance for 2026.
And I think this is the remount, the box,
Yes,
remount the box.
265 would be the remount, where you'll see 2027, there's $350,000 for an ambulance, and that's because that's not going to be the remount where we're able to transfer the box onto the next vehicle. So what we've done in the past is you'll order 2 at a time, basically, and you'll see how that falls 2026 to 2027. So actually, if you purchase, you have the 2026 purchase and then also the 2027 falling back in. What we have done in the past is it gets us on a list so that there is an ambulance available. As we go through the year, if that ambulance does not have the miles that he was anticipating or it has more life in it, then a lot of times we can move down that list and someone else can take that spot because there's only so many vehicles available. So even on this last one, it's the same thing. Just because it's on this list, if this ambulance does not need replaced, John's not going to necessarily just go out and replace it, but we're going to be on this waiting list to make sure that we are prepared in the case that we do have an ambulance failure. So we're not without an ambulance for any long period amount of time.
Kind of holds his place in line on the queue.
Yeah, exactly. And so sometimes we have to move down the queue if we're not in need at that time, but it keeps us at least in the range. So we still have the equipment available.
And for the public, we have 5 ambulances that run, correct?
ambulance. There's 5 ambulances, and then there was, for emergency management, we have a.
We have an old one that he uses for his CERT team for their response.
And that one, we received a grant funding for that emergency.
And the top.
Probably a John question, but you may know. I think there's been times where all of them have been out.
Absolutely.
Or they've been out and only one on call for the.
For the area. They've been on
Area.
transports. We have 2 that are parked in Harrington and 3 here at Station 1. And you're correct. We've had all 5 of them occupied at one time. So
That Saline County would come over if we needed help, or Geary County,
you're
just as we help them.
correct.
And sometimes things happen right on a boundary too with the highway system.
Yes.
I guess really what I'm adding there is that, correct me if I'm wrong, but we are the ambulance service for the entire county.
We are. Yes. Yes.
So there's only one provider. So it's pretty important that we keep our ambulances running.
Now, that's not to say that a private ambulance couldn't come in depending on what happens. But yes, we are the primary.
Gotcha.
And then if you move on to page 3, then you're going to find all of the sheriff vehicles on there. Right now for 2026, they are only anticipating the purchase of 1 new sheriff's vehicle. And so everything else, as based on the mileage, was able to be moved out into the future years. You can see on here that there's some highlighted in green. That is for a reason. Those have actually been funded through asset forfeiture. We can't purchase all of them through asset forfeiture, but when we can, that is an option that they are able to utilize for a couple of their units. You can, and so other than that, they kind of, and these will shift. We have those dollars in place based on the unit, but if one unit obviously puts on less mileage throughout the year, then we continuously update this. So I just follow up with the undersheriff and the sheriff, and we are continuously looking into this list to make sure that it stays up to date. So right now, out of the equipment reserve, there on that page 3, you'll see the total for the equipment reserve at the bottom. That's at $808,000. That's what's penciled in for 2026 right now for equipment replacement, including the ambulances, the EKG machines, sheriff's vehicles, IT expenses. So there's a wide variety of items that are purchased out of this fund. Currently, as of this month, we are sitting about $2.2 million in our equipment reserve. Within the budget so far that we have put together, do have a transfer of $450,000 going back into the equipment reserve to maintain and keep that healthy for these upcoming years. That is something that I want to talk about. I know we talked about fund balances, and we're getting a little closer to the end of the budget cycle. I think this is something that I want to continue to evaluate that over the year and not necessarily just cram it into the next couple of weeks, because I just feel like we're kind of running out of time. But I want to make sure that through this process, you guys understand that we're not necessarily just saying that whatever we have in place now is firm and we have to calculate this within the next 2 weeks. When we pass a budget, we are effectively setting the budget authority. We can always come down from there, and we can always make changes throughout the year at any time. So even if we have a piece of equipment on here that's listed at this time at the date of budget, if that, throughout the year, if you want to pull this back up and say, I don't know if this necessarily needs to be on that list, we can continue to reevaluate that. This doesn't lock us in for anything. We still have to come and discuss that with the commission before purchases are made. So although we're coming up on kind of the end of the budget cycle, the budget is continuously and it's always ongoing. So these changes can always be discussed at a later time. So right now, roughly factoring in between 2025 and 2026 that we would end the 2026 year, if all of these purchases came through, probably somewhere around that $1.5 million in the equipment reserve. Possibly a little bit higher. That's kind of a conservative number. And that we have a variety of different things that we're discussing right now to just make sure that our assets and everything are covered. And we have, even like with what Gallagher was talking about with the strategic plan, that's kind of what this is. We want to set a strategic plan so that we are prepared for the future and we know how much we need to set aside each year for equipment. And I think kind of understanding that the equipment reserve, when they started to build that, in the past, we've spent a lot more on interest, and because there was times where you might have even on like a large dump truck or an ambulance, you might have actually used a lease purchase model. And now that we've had this healthy reserve, it has saved a lot in interest. So I do think there's some real value there to the taxpayers. If we can find the proper amount of what that balance should be each year and continue to fund that properly to make sure that we're not sitting on too many funds, but then also make sure that we have funds available as equipment breaks down. We need, because we can create as many lists as we want, and then all it takes is one dump truck or one ambulance breaking down in the middle, and all of a sudden we're scrambling to find, $200,000 or $300,000. So although 1.5 million sounds like a lot, with the type of equipment we work with, sometimes that can disappear pretty quickly. So we want to make sure that we're just handling that properly.
And we've been in that situation in the past where we've had to unexpectedly buy a large piece of equipment or the cots or for the ambulance or things like that. So having some reserve in there is making sense.
Yep. We pull it out of the general, I assume. That's how we end up doing that if that day came.
If that day came and there wasn't money in the equipment reserve.
Which I don't want that day to come.
Agreed, yeah. So having a balance,
Yeah.
having a balance in equipment reserve helps with some of that too, so.
So that covers all of the equipment reserve side of it. If we continue to flip the next page, then we're actually going to move into what is still here in the capital, but this is actually going to be the special highway fund, which is similar, but this is what we utilize to fund the highway side of purchases. So right now, in what we have anticipated, there's a number of vehicles. Now Martin's, his actually, I would say, and you'll see kind of moving out in those final years to 2029, 2030. We still have some updating to do on that, but Martin is very good about not purchasing his items too early in the process. He will almost wait, I think, until it is on its last leg, because we have the mechanics that can take care of this. We have some great quality workers that, for the most part, most of our equipment, they can get back on the road if need be. And sometimes we've had to go out and possibly rent a piece of equipment because one goes down. So those kinds of things can happen. But most of this, he's been able to get as much life out of it as possible. So although we see a good number of items in that 2026 column, which actually we have about $1.3 million in for the special highway fund. I do not anticipate that we will actually be utilizing that much in funding for it.
There's a few things we could talk.
Well, the other thing is typically we do not purchase new equipment. I mean, the dump trucks, yes, but the other equipment, they will do their best to find a used.
Well, one I would look at in particular is a trailer. Trailers can be rebuilt. You don't need to buy a new one.
Okay.
Tires, axle, it's very easily. I mean, unless the axles are bad, I don't know. I'd love to talk about it.
And I think that could be a good conversation also to even bring Martin back in and kind of sit down with somebody.
It just needs redecked or something. That's
Yeah.
a different story.
And I think if we'd go out there, we'd probably discover they do a lot of in-house maintenance,
Yeah.
but also getting by with what they have.
This one, though, I get. I mean, a lot of them make sense, but we've kept trailers.
But it's good to look at all that.
We haul big equipment. We can fix a trailer.
Yeah, and I think for the most part, these numbers on especially on the special highway fund, they're put in at replacement cost.
Sure.
A lot of times for new, a lot of those items do not get.
I know, I was looking at the grader, and I'm like, we got one heck of a lot cheaper than that.
Yeah, exactly. So I think some of these items, although that may be the new price tag, that's probably
Sure.
not. So I don't know that these numbers, maybe we can reevaluate the way we
Well, that's probably the right way to do it, though. I mean, honestly, what if there isn't a used one?
Correct.
put the new
So
price
I
on there
think-
just so we're prepared.
Planning for the worst isn't a very bad idea.
Yeah. So that's where we're at so far with that. And
It is a lot, though. How much is in, what would that fund look like?
So right now, the special machinery fund, it is at about $1.4 million in the special machinery. So obviously, if all of those items came through,
We're gonna need to do some,
then we would run into some challenges there. But like I said, I don't anticipate that, and that's why maybe I want to look at this, the way we're planning on this one, and just make sure that we maybe have a little bit more accurate view of it. It's not that it's not, I think if you look at the age-wise, all the equipment that are on this list, you probably say, yeah, they're probably about due. But just because something's 20 years old doesn't mean we're replacing it, because if it still has 10 years worth of life, we're going to keep that on there. But it might be on this, in this column. That doesn't necessarily mean that Martin's actually really looking at that. So I think I can look at this a little closer with Martin and probably update that and at least push some things out towards the 2029 to 2030 area for the upcoming years.
yeah, it'd be getting pretty thin, I think, for our elected.
Yeah. That's something we don't want to allow to happen, because just like the equipment reserve, this is very important to our highway department to make sure that we keep this healthy. And these are, when we do talk about reserves, these are kind of all part of that. So we have the special machinery, the equipment reserve, and the general fund reserve. The general fund reserve, that's the one that kind of, like you said, if any of these fail, we're going to have to bail it out from the general fund reserve. And so there's a reason that we have to just responsibly keep something available in those funds, but finding that proper amount, that's what we need to come to you guys to and just really discuss what we believe is the proper amount. We can work through a lot, but I've reviewed so many different policies across all different counties. Everybody does it a little bit different. And I don't know that there's any exact right or wrong for it, but there's a right or wrong for your community, for your commission, and what we believe is going to be the proper amount to make sure that we're still making responsible decisions with our finances. So after we flip past the highway department, then we kind of get into a few of these that we have listed that are actually, they are still separate funds. None of them have a significant amount available to them, like all of our items or equipment have to come out of a different fund. So like environmental services, that is the transfer station fund. It is listed in the CIP. They don't have a lot of expenses, but that doesn't come out of our equipment reserve. It does not come out of a separate machine fund. That would actually be funded through our transportation. And so we're looking at our fees and things to cover these costs. Right now, the potential for a loader is on there in 2029. What we've done typically with the loader as the highway department cycles one out, they actually move it over to the environmental services. So when that happens, I have $100,000 put in there. We would probably discuss what the used value is on that and see if there's a proper transfer of amount from the environmental services into the special machinery fund, just to basically swap out some of the funding sources on that. We do have a CIP fund, which is separate. That's where we're really, it's only got about $200,000 in that today. That capital fund is really, what I'd like to do is build that more for the facility side of things at some point. So if we can evaluate what we would need for some facility improvements over the upcoming years, that to me would separate it so that we have the equipment reserve that handles most of the wheeled equipment, things of that nature. And then we'd have the capital outlay fund that maybe we can look at for some facilities maintenance in the future, just to help separate those out. So it's not, when we just say capital, it gets a little confusing because we do have a number of funds that are called capital outlay. And so I know even for the public, that can sometimes get a little confusing, but there are separate funding sources for each of all of these types of equipment.
And it follows statute as to what, noxious weed could be used for noxious weed because the transfer come from noxious weed. Same way with the highway into special machinery and that. So.
And like I said, right now, the capital improvement fund only has about $187,000 in it. We have not regularly funded that as high as we have the equipment reserve, because obviously equipment purchases are more frequent and of higher need. So the building in the past, especially this building, that obviously was funded through a bond. And so we didn't have to utilize the capital improvement for that.
But overall, is that the right number? 26, 3.1? Okay.
For everything.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's a mix of all of those put together. So that does include the equipment reserve and the highway
Yeah, we're gonna
special
do
machinery.
talk, I think.
Yeah, and so that's, and I think this, the highway special machinery, I think following back up with Martin on that, we can clean that up quite a bit even now. When we first start looking at that that was about March, the unknown for those future years for some of his equipment, especially the aged equipment, does get a little questionable. And so I think that's something we can follow back up on and just make sure that we provide you with a little bit more accurate number, I think, on that one. We also do have coming up next week, and just as we talked about assets, we were approached by Enterprise Fleet Management, and so they wanted to have an opportunity to look at our fleet. So we did send them that a spreadsheet just like this with a list of all of our equipment, and they wanted to send us some kind of proposal. So we're going to listen to that. If there's ever an opportunity to manage our fleet in a more financially feasible way, we'll continue to look at those, do our due diligence to at least review the content, whether it makes sense or not. I can't tell you yet, but we'll bring that information to you as we have more. But just doing our due diligence to listen to all the opportunities that are out there and see if anything would ever make sense for us to make a change on how we handle our fleet.
Okay. We'd want to know Martin's opinion on that probably.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that, I think all the different departments, they work with a lot of different cities and counties now. It's growing. And so he wanted to reach out to us. When I was with the city, they approached us at one point too, and we discussed that option. It was brought to the commission, and then they decided not to do it. There were some departments that were all in favor, some that were not so much. The thought behind it is that you'll have a newer fleet. An equipment reserve being funded is very important to be able to make that a manageable program. But what you would be doing is then every 2 to 3 years, as you rotate through those vehicles, there's actually some equity that comes back to and is credited to your account. And so it would make it to where, let's say you have a set number almost in place of what you're going to spend each year for your fleet services. So you have a more accurate view of really what you need to set aside for funding at some different times. But it doesn't mean you have to do all your fleet, but we'll review and just see what kind of information they can bring back to us and see how the numbers fall in place. And we'll talk to you guys about it either way.
You want to talk about the R&R too, Marcus, while you're.
Yeah, real quick, let me do that.
Keep that open.
I'll make it bigger.
I already handed those to you.
I'm thinking maybe you do.
Maybe I just hand those to you, the R&R.
No, it's going to look like this, and then behind it is going to be a sign.
He's here, Marcus.
Yep, that's it. There we go. No, set it somewhere wrong. So we did need to discuss this with the budget. We don't have to have anything set in stone quite yet. But by July 20th, we have to let the county clerk know of our intent to exceed or to not exceed the revenue neutral rate. I'm recommending at this time, based on the numbers that we have in front of us so far, that we do let her know that we're not planning to exceed the revenue neutral rate. We are currently about 3.5 mils below where we were at last year. We're almost 2 mils under the revenue neutral rate. And I think based off of that information, to me, I feel comfortable not holding a revenue neutral rate hearing and just holding the budget hearing.
And the benefit of the public, 1 mil represents, when you say we're 2 mils projected under
Yeah,
the approximate on that.
it's about $283,000 for a mil.
So we're talking more than $500,000 or.
Yeah, nearly a $500,000 right now under the revenue neutral rate, and actually around $750,000 under what it would have been if we kept the mill levy flat to last year. So we've lowered the mill levy by that much so far with the budgets we're presenting so far.
So a few people I've talked to, well, at the city, for example, they may go ahead and give the notification, even though they'll be below that, but they're going to be so close to it.
Yeah.
We don't get the valuation, but we've got more of a buffer just because it is trimmed back so much right now.
That's what I would say. We're so far under the revenue neutral rate, I don't think it's going to be a concern. Really, the biggest question, I guess, would be unless the commission was uncomfortable and wanted to increase the budget for any reason. If that is the case, then I just would need to know that prior so that I could let Jennifer know that we do plan to hold the revenue neutral rate hearing. But I'm comfortable with as low as we are right now, letting her know that we do not plan to exceed the revenue neutral rate. And then that just, to me, it alleviates a little bit of the confusion because you get multiple, they're still going to get the notification for the revenue neutral rate hearing. They'll have us listed on there. But to me, if we have to send the message that we're going to exceed the revenue neutral rate, then I have to build that into the budget, inflate the number, and basically hand it to her with a number that we're not planning to take to the public. And it looks like we're passing a higher budget than we really are. Many people usually don't like that. And so,
That's one of
The
the,
pathway we're on, I think, is working. I mean, right now, so that's.
and last year we didn't hold the revenue neutral rate hearing either, and it worked. To me, if we do the revenue neutral rate, we're going to do it the same day as the budget hearing. So you'll open a revenue neutral rate hearing. And then you'll probably just close it, and then you'll open the budget hearing right after.
Could you briefly explain revenue neutral rate? I know we understand it pretty well, but I don't know if the public, let's just educate them a little bit.
Yeah, so the revenue neutral rate is based on the actual property taxes that we collected last year. And so although our assessed valuation, so last year our assessed valuation was $275,000, let's say. Well, this year it's 283. So that's the value of a mill. So if we kept the mill levy flat, because the value of a mill increased this year, we're actually going to bring in more property taxes and we can still keep a flat budget, mill levy flat, but your dollars would increase. So what the revenue neutral rate does, it locks you in at those dollars. So last year we brought in $14,739,000 in property tax. And this year we're looking at bringing in $14,273,000. So about $500,000 lower than where we were at last year. So that's where we're coming in under the revenue neutral rate. So that's, I don't know if that helps explain.
I'm going to reverbiate it. What revenue neutral really means, I'm going to put it down, I guess, in my terms.
Yeah.
It's when the valuations go up, we cut the mill levy to not exceed the income we made the year prior.
Yeah.
That's essentially what we're doing. And actually what we're doing in addition this year is we're actually cutting the actual mill levy down as well and expenditures. In other words, we're giving you a tax break.
Yeah.
Beyond what revenue neutral would require. So in other words, we're being pretty aggressive with expenditure cuts this year. And that's what's allowing us to do this. Okay. Sorry, I just wanted to.
And we were under revenue neutral rate last year, but we did publish that we might exceed because it was so close.
Well, because things have changed.
Yeah.
Before, if you were so close and the values had changed, then it would force you to be over what you expected and you can't go over. Well, now this year, or it started last year, that if it does go over, you still get your anticipated tax revenue on what your budget had said. So it's fine. You're not going to hurt anything. Some of them are just used to still exceeding because that's just how it's always been. But they're okay to be right on. They're okay to be right under. You're still going to generate the same amount of taxes, whether that value goes up or down.
Well, and I'll mention too, I know, Kenny, you've kind of taken the lead on this because it doesn't come by chance. I mean, we always try to maintain expenditures but gravel or, other things, everything seems to go up in price, and we've tried to absorb some of that in a responsible way. But, this year, you kind of took the lead on that to let's just make some cuts and trim it back. And so that's one reason we're in this position where you can say we wouldn't have to have the RNR.
Yeah.
And I mean, I know, Ron, you've always looked at things of trying to keep it reasonable, and I have, but we have had a little bit of an adjustment on our approach this year.
And what I'd say to respond to that is thank you for that credit, but really credit needs to go where it's due, and it's to the staff and the administration. They've worked really well with us to cut expenditure. And I want the public to know that. We heard you, and we're reacting, and we're changing, and this is what we got for the first year of getting that done.
Appreciate those comments. Thank you.
You guys don't have any more questions for me? If Tim wanted to touch base on anything? Plat before.
If you, just before Tim starts, you can either put this on the agenda for this week or you can do it next week.
Yeah,
I'm
I do.
completely comfortable. Commissioner, do you want to do this week or you? Let's go ahead and add it. You get that official copy for us. Thank you, Mark.
Probably just to sign this one and be okay.
You want to talk about the replat a little bit?
Yeah.
Get going?
You'll have, good morning, Tim Hamilton, planning, right? You have a couple of resolutions in front of you. The first one is going to be for the rezoning of a portion of land in, from agricultural to suburban residential for the purpose of establishing a small, what they call 4-lot, refer to it in our subdivision regulations as a short form plat. And that's a plat that just basically is less than 5 lots. That does not require a preliminary plat. This area map that I did, the blue is showing you kind of an incomplete, showing you that that's the area that's going to be rezoned. But this is the applicant's property here, and they're going to be included in that as well. It's just I couldn't get my program to bring their property into it, but the only one that's not going to be in it, this is not going to be in it. It was cut out for that zoning. And that's not going to be included in this subdivision. So they have a 1, 2, and there's 2 down below. That will be down here. There'll be 2 lots down here. And this little jog right here is going to be included with the Hausers.
Okay.
And I know in the past, there have been questions about things like certain building standards and those sorts of things. That's usually up to the developer to come up with those, covenants or restrictions on the type of square footage of the house and what it's going to look like on the outside and how much landscaping, that sort of thing. But we did have a public hearing with the Planning Commission on the 19th of June. And it was a split vote. It was a 4-1-1 with one of those being an abstention. But they are recommending approval. The Planning Commission is rezone that portion of land that is currently ag to suburban residential for this. No, we did have some public comment, just general comment from the public at that meeting about, questions about effect on taxes and things like that for the surrounding area, and what if there's going to be an issue with conflicting uses, where if they're doing some ag work outside of that subdivision, will the subdivision residents be upset with that or whatever? And I explained that we have a disclaimer in our building permits so that when someone builds a house out there in a subdivision, they're aware that they could be subjected to noise and different things, environmental conditions that they might not be used to. And so with that, do you all have any questions?
You see any disadvantages to doing this?
No, I don't. This is becoming to be honest, this is becoming more of a trend now where you have a lot of lots on parcels that people have that they're kind of extraneous and people are trying to let go of farm ground, and the best way that they can do it sometimes is just to still make a profit off of it is to subdivide it with these smaller, subdivisions. And so, yeah, I would say it's a benefit. These kinds of, this type of housing is attractive out there. I know I've spent my own personal opinion as I went north on the north side of the county one time doing an inspection on a place. And I told the owner of the property, I said, it was on like 20 acres. I said, you can't hear anything out here. This is great. I'd love to.
That's the way we like it.
Yeah. And so I think that's an appeal to a lot of residents to live out that portion, quiet,
Yep.
acres.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, my only other, I guess, the question was watershed. I mean, you put 4 houses there, it's going to change the flow. I didn't know if that was a concern of ours or not.
We have, the engineer, Caw Valley did showed a drainage study, or not a study, but a map.
Make sure we thought about that.
So, and it's not going
Good. I just want to make
So
sure.
if it would, say in another development,
to.
they could say you need a retention pond or you need to do.
Yeah.
So that base is covered to make, or checked, that box is checked off to make sure it's.
Really, the only time you run into drainage issues is if you have like I don't mean to pick on the city, but that one north of town that one that didn't quite develop the way they wanted to, and that where you have that kind of density, that does affect.
But the engineers will, on any development, will look at that as part of the requirement of
Yeah,
cities and counties.
Yeah. That's our requirement too. We have them as part of this, what we call short form plat process. To avoid having to go through the preliminary plat process, they have to include on a separate document just a survey showing how that drainage is going to go, how that's going to flow out. I may have neglected to give you that, but I've got it.
That's okay. I just, in my neck of the woods, water can be a real heated
Oh, yeah.
debate.
Yeah.
It can be quite a feud. So I just want to make sure we're not creating any problems going
And
forward.
the other thing is too, when someone pulls a building permit for a new house, I usually check to see how it lays and make suggestions on how to grade it, make sure that they have a grading that's correct before they build.
Sounds like we're on it. I don't have any other questions, Tim. Thank you. We've got about 2 minutes here and we'll start the regular meeting.
You want to introduce the applicant when it comes to that? Yeah, thank you.
Did you sign in by chance? Up there?
I got up this morning, it just
Thank
sounded
you.
like a waterfall or something going on, and it was like 5 a.m. and went downstairs, and the first step, it was just swoosh, swoosh.
Oh, my.
Did you figure out which pipe it was?
Yeah, oh yeah, it was pretty obvious, you could hear it.
Yeah.
Oh,
And it
God.
just, but I didn't hear it last night, so it happened middle of the night. And about an inch and a half of water.
Oh my God.
Got a drain, so at least it got into that a little bit.
A little bit, but still.
Anyway, called the plumber, he answered the phone at 6:30 in the morning.
Dang.
He came, got someone out there. Carpet people are gonna vacuum up the water.
Oh, even better.
Not
That's
so bad.
good.
Not so bad.
That's a scary thought. I have a 150-year-old house and I worry about that kind of stuff all the time.
On the 22nd.
And you think of the times you go on vacation and kind of, for me, I'll have my daughter, check the house every other day, something like that. Do you think that's enough?
Make sure they don't try to.
No, big enough problem. We just watched a couple of reels from the Texas deal.
Oh, this is not, yeah,
We're gonna get started.
the
guys.
fact that it's solved practically.
Call this meeting to order. We'll all rise for the flag salute.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. Thank you. We'll move on to the approval of the agenda for today. Today, we have one notice from the Kansas Department of Health and Environment, Resolution 071025, amending the zoning of a parcel located in Garfield Township. Resolution 071025A, the acceptance of the final plat of the Emig Country Homes Edition. Do I hear a motion to approve the
We
agenda?
also have that to add, RNR,
Apologize.
if you would like to.
It would be other business, right? And in other business today, we're going to vote on the notice of revenue neutral rate intent, which means we do not plan to exceed that, to vote on that today. And I believe that is also to not hold the hearing because we know we're not going to exceed the revenue neutral rate.
We'll still have our regular budget hearing, but we don't have to hold the R&R hearing.
Correct. Thank you.
I'd move that we approve the agenda as amended.
I'll second it.
Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Moving on to the consent agenda, the minutes are provided in your packet, Commissioners, of July 3rd meeting. Expenditures of $1,374,819.51. Hand checks of $1,762.90. SD security of $4,702.50. Indigent defense, $17,400. Abated tax of $893.44. An added tax of $141.82.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Moving on to Commissioner comments. I do not have much for this week. We got a couple events coming up next week. They're going to be pretty fundamental to the political landscape of our county. We're going to have the re-election of the 70th Representative District. That will take place, I believe, on Monday at 7 p.m. at Sand Springs venue. The public is invited, but only people that can vote in that special re-election is elected committeemen and women from from the 70th district. That is all I have to add today. Lynn?
Last night at Sturl Hall, they had the 4-H picnic, kind of an appreciation for those that support 4-H and as well as all the 4-Hers there. Jill Martinson does just a fabulous job, and we're so fortunate we have so many people, 4-Hers involved, and they're all excited because they're nearing the time where the fair is coming up and all their projects. They have a chance to bring those forth, and but lots of also volunteers and people that have supported 4-H for a long time, and had a great meal, and so anyway, I was glad to attend, and it's great to see so many people there that support 4-H from throughout the county. That's all I had.
Thank you. Ron?
Just real quick, we want to take a few minutes to think about our producers out there wrapping up harvest. They bring quite a bit of commerce to our communities, and we want to make sure that we kind of look after them and let them know that we appreciate their hard work. That's all.
Well said. Thank you, Commissioners. Moving on to public comments, if Janelle Dockendorf, County Administrator, would read the rules.
Per the Open Meetings Act, KSA 75-4317 and 75-4318A, As the elected board, the county commission is not allowed to meet or make any decisions without posting the meeting. They are only allowed to act on items on the agenda which they set. During their regular meeting, the county commission may allow for public comments on items not listed on the approved agenda. It is at the discretion of the county commission if they allow comments on the agenda items. If you wish to provide comments, please come forward to the podium and state your name and address. If you are online, raise your hand and we will unmute you. Please state your name and address. Each person may speak for 3 minutes. The allotted time will start after the speaker has given his or her name and address. Public comments shall be addressed to the county commission only and not to the speaker or the audience. Only the county commission will be permitted to ask the speaker questions. The public comment period is not a back and forth discussion with the county commission. You should make your views and input known to them, but it is not a time to ask them questions. You should not expect them to respond to your comments. Comments may express support or agreement with the previous speakers, but in the interest of time, please do not repeat the same information. You may state something to the effect of your name and address and you agree with the previous speaker. It is important to maintain a respectful, non-threatening atmosphere for anyone who would like to speak. Please do not engage in such actions as cheering, booing, clapping, insults, threats, etc.
Thank you. Give it a minute, see if we have any public comment. Any comment in the crowd today? This is your chance. You can let us know. I don't see any comments. Do you guys? Okay. Moving on to the report from county officers. We'll start with County Administrator Janelle Dockendorf.
Commissioners, if you would indulge, I would like to recognize Rose Johns at this point, if she would come up. Rose has completed and has become a certified Kansas Register of Deeds. So thank you.
Congratulations.
That was very important. And you want to talk to us a little bit about what you went through? So I'm sorry, not to scare off your staff as to what they could go through, but you know.
I had to take, I believe it was 24 hours, probably more than that, actually. It was a week's long course. I had to be there every day. It was in Salina. The Register of Deeds Association hosted it. We went over a lot of the statutes, a lot of the things that we do daily, how to do them better, things that are coming up that could be new. There was always a representative from the legislator there. So we got to talk to them about, in fact, some of the things came up during our meetings over there about how we can charge for like research and things like that. That was all part, and we had people on that committee that were actually there at the school talking to the legislator to tell them our opinion on certain things to make sure that we were safeguarded with certain things when it came to all of that new research, charging and things like that. So it was very eye-opening. I learned a lot. I met a lot of different people from around the state. So it's a good course. And this year, luckily, they had it in Salina and not out in southwestern Kansas like they usually have. So, but you have to attend it in order to get your certification. So.
And you did it.
I did it.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
And everything. Good job. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Rose.
And she does have a couple of her staff members in here with us too.
Hi.
So,
This is my new employee, Brenda. This is Deb Davis. She's been with me for 4 years now, so
Well, thanks for attending and congratulations.
thank you.
Commissioners, we do have an open position in the treasurer's office, so we'll be advertising for that. We had a resignation. The emergency manager is reviewing the local emergency planning committee annual responsibility, so he's working on that. Public Works continues to pave on the old 40 east from Solomon to Abilene. Weather permitting, again, I know I've said that just about every week, and the guys are tired of that. The plant was down a little bit too, so it makes it kind of hard to do. So the zoning director has received good response to the letters he sent out to those citizens that built without obtaining a permit. And we just, as a reminder, you do need to get a building permit. And as Marcus talked about in the study session, he's finalizing the fiscal year 2026 budget. So I think we're in a good place. And that's all I would have unless you have questions.
I do not. Thank you. Moving on to County Councilor Doug Thompson.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
We have the tax sale is what we've been spending a lot of time on. And we were down to 18 parcels of real estate. And that's good because I'd like to see the numbers even go lower than that. But we are set for 8/14 at 10 a.m. And that will be the actual sale of the tax properties that haven't been redeemed. So that's where we stand with that.
And I would just note, it will be in the basement.
I was just about to mention that,
That's
in
correct.
the basement of the courthouse.
The numbers are significantly less now than what we've been through. If you remember from before, why we had 180 people and then down the hallway, and it's hard for them to hear and everything else. So I'm pleased that we've got the numbers down to the 18, and I'm pleased that we'll be down in the basement because it'll be a lot easier for all concerned. So that's what I've got.
Approximate time for
It'll
the
start at 10.
10
10
a.m.
o'clock.
And if someone wants to find out the list that is,
It'll
Be
be coming
sold.
out. Mhm.
so is it
Be coming out.
published as well as on the
Be on the
website?
website.
Yeah. Yeah, it already is, I think, by now.
Mhm.
And so that's what we're down to. But with the numbers we started with and the numbers we're at now, means that some were able to get the money put together and bring the past due taxes up, and others were able to sell. So all I got. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. Moving on, we do have a notice today from the Kansas Department of Health and Environment. That's a public notice regarding Kansas water pollution control permits for agriculture-related waste and authorization to discharge under the National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System. With that being said, the notice goes out to Reynolds, and then you're gonna read his actual name here, sorry. It's Reynolds Feedlot, I'm sorry, guys. I have it circled, and I don't have it. Here we go. The permit goes out to Justin Reynolds at the main yard at 320 2350 Avenue, Solomon, Kansas, which is just north of me, actually. So congratulations to him.
Commissioners, did you want to hear from Jennifer right quick regarding the special election upcoming?
Absolutely.
It's not a special election, it's a primary.
Oh, primary election, pardon me.
We're preparing for the primary election. It's exclusively held for the city of Abilene at the Home West Building on August 5th, focusing on the city commissioner race. We anticipate the arrival of electronic poll tags by the end of this week, ensuring they are ready for early voting, which starts on July 16th, next week on Wednesday, and it will continue through Monday, August 4th at noon. Please note voter registration also closes next week on Tuesday, July 15th. On another note, we have also been doing budget meetings with all of our entities, which as we prepare budgets for 24 townships, 7 fire districts, 30 cemeteries, and 2 watersheds. In addition, we're addressing our most extensive Kansas Open Records Act request since my tenure here. It is very time consuming, involving election records from 2016 to 2024. I have 2 staff members dedicated to completing this task, which has already consumed a significant number of hours, impacting our daily responsibilities and election preparations. That's it for me.
Okay. Do you have any idea how much longer you guys think you'll have to work on that?
I gave them a 4-week deadline, so hopefully we get it done.
Before we get it
If
done?
not, we'll just update them again.
Anything else?
Nope.
Let's move on to the resolutions. Consideration of resolution 071025, which is amending the zoning of parcel of land located on Garfield Township, section 29, township 14 south, range 1 east. I believe that's what those stand for. Dickinson County from AG-80 agriculture district to S-R suburban residential district. Do you want to have the, yeah, sorry, that's exactly what I was going to ask for.
Tim Hamilton, Planning and Zoning. This resolution was heard on June 19th by the Planning Commission, and they recommended approval of this zoning to accommodate a new residential subdivision of 4 lots at the request of Michael and Danae Hauser. No major issues came up. I think the main discussion was about I think the public was concerned about things like taxes and, as I had mentioned earlier, and traffic. And I think one of the things that I kind of explained to people is our prior county engineer and I sat down and figured out a formula to figure out how the best way to determine whether or not a traffic study would be needed for a subdivision. And if it's, usually if you exceed 10 new vehicles, that would be 2 vehicles per lot. So that would be a 5-lot subdivision. Then you could request a traffic study. But at this point, they said that because there's only 4 lots, and historically the past few subdivisions that have been approved have been less than 5 acres or less than 5 number of lots. They've not been required to have a traffic study. And so in fact, this would not be very much at all. So if you have any other questions about this.
I do not. Okay. I would entertain a motion to approve resolution 071025.
So moved.
Second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Moving on to resolution 071025A, which is the acceptance of the final plat for the Emig Country Homes Edition. I believe, would you like to come up and talk about that briefly before we vote on that? No?
I don't have any.
Or
Just giving you a shot. You don't have to.
Tim
I'm
can
just,
speak on your behalf if you
Yeah, that's
want
fine,
to.
too.
And then if we have questions,
yeah.
we can.
That would be fine.
This will be a 4-lot subdivision that known as Emig Country Homes subdivision. This will be located on the southwest corner of 1500 and Camp. And it is going to encompass the house or the applicant's property, plus have 3 additional lots included. The Planning Commission voted or is recommending approval of this subdivision. As done previously, is that they're recommending approval for, as provided the zoning was appropriate for it. So suburban residential zoning, which is what you all had already approved just previously, that does comply with what the size of the lots are that they're proposing. Disregard, if you have read my staff report, you can disregard the condition I put on the recommendation for approval, which was the easements. All the easements have been included in this subdivision. The engineer, Caw Valley, was able to get the revised subdivision plat to me prior to the Planning Commission meeting. And so I just want to let you know all those easements and corrections have been made to that plat before the Planning Commission made that motion. So
Is it on the resolution? Do we need to strike the wording is my question.
Let me double check.
I want to pass it if it's on there.
it shouldn't be on.
It shouldn't be.
Okay, I just want to make sure. Okay,
Right, it's just the application for the 4 residential subdivisions.
Okay.
And that's it, so you should be good.
okay. Approximately the homes you plan to build, can you give us a little bit of idea of what you guys think might go in there, or size approximately, or anything like that?
Our plan is to sell the lots, and we're gonna consult with someone who has done this before and
Okay.
draw up a covenant of some kind that will stipulate some parameters, but not actually plan a house. I mean, we're not gonna dictate to people what they need to build, just that
That
there
there's
will be
like,
certain exclusions, like no trailer houses, there needs to be an actual foundation
no
and,
junkyards?
yeah.
Okay,
And so, we've not done this before, and so we're just kind of learning as we go. And the next step, once it's been approved, is to consult with someone and get that drawn up before we advertise, and then sell them as lots and then develop them as they choose.
I see. Very well.
And I'm sorry.
Commissioners, do you have any questions?
I don't have any questions.
I was gonna say, if you pass the resolution today, the only other thing that you have to do is I'm collecting the signatures on the plat. I received the plat yesterday, the Mylar. And once I get all those other signatures done, I'll bring it back before you Kenny, to sign it.
Okay.
So,
That sounds good.
I'll go ahead and make the motion that we adopt resolution 071025A for the acceptance of that final plat.
I'll second that motion. Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Congratulations. You're welcome. Moving on to other business, as we talked about earlier, the notice of revenue neutral rate intent. We do not plan to exceed the revenue neutral rate that we will submit our budget to the county clerk on or before October 1st, 2025. In addition to that, we do not plan to have a revenue neutral rate hearing as well, because as said before, we are going to be about 3.5 mils below that rate. So we don't feel that we need to do that. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second it.
Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries. I believe that concludes our business for today. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
There we go. We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.